Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Kansas Moonshot Podcast, where we are shining the spotlight on amazing things happening in schools across the state. Whether you're one of the Mercury, Gemini, or Apollo schools launching some amazing redesign plans, or a teacher trying to do something a little different, I want to share your story. The goal is to celebrate the awesomeness all around us. This is part 2 of our series where Kansas Teacher of the Year team members share their passion words. If you haven't had a chance, check out episode number 49, which is part 1 of this series. Check out these amazing educators share what drives them in the classroom. Check it out.
Hello, Kansas educators. I'm Melissa Molteni. I teach 2nd grade in Shawnee Mission in the Kansas City area. I am here to talk about one of my passion words, which is choice. Choice in the classroom and different ways to allow kids to make choices so that they are more motivated and engaged. There's a lot more buy-in and less behavior to manage if kids make choices throughout the day. What does that look like in the classroom? Let's start with the morning greeting. Giving kids choice at the door when you meet them in the morning. Give them a high five, give them a hug, just tell them hello, good morning, however they want to do that. That's a great way to kind of start your day and let the kids know that they have some choice. When we honor their choices, they become more confident, and that relationship between yourself and your students really grows stronger. So what does that look like in the classroom? So seating is a biggie for me. I have a lot of flexible seating options. Kids are at school many hours a day, and we really should expect that they'd want to move around during the day and get that movement, get their brains activated, and depending on the activity, they might want to sit, they might want to lie down with a clipboard, they might want to bounce a little bit on a ball chair. There are just lots of options, and allowing them to sit close to peers or sit by themselves for parts of the day really helps with that engagement and motivation too. What does choice look like during reading time? So parts of the day, students should get to choose whether they're reading by themselves or with a partner or in a small group, and letting them make the choices whether they're reading the novel of their choice or picking from a certain genre that they're interested in is really going to heighten that motivation and increase engagement with your students. Having song lyrics available, cookbooks, menus, all of those kind of materials add to the choices that kids get to make when they're making a reading choice. During our math portion of the day, I find it's a little bit harder to offer choices during math, but one thing that has worked pretty successfully for me is offering 2 or 3 choices of math apps. So finding appropriate math apps that they're interested in, that are covering your standards, and letting them choose between which app they're using, because they all seem to have a preference over one or another. But as long as it's an appropriate app that they're learning what the concepts they need to learn, why not let them choose which app that is? And then when you're putting together a sheet of problems or problem sets, maybe there's 30 on a page, let them pick which 10 they're answering, because in 10 problems, you know whether they have understood the concept or not. So why not let them choose 10 out of the 20 or however many are on the page. So what's another way to give students choice throughout their day and throughout their week and weeks of learning? So when you're choosing topics, let them choose the topics they're most interested in. Say that you are doing a study on the United States, and instead of assigning everybody a state or picking names out of drawing their names out, let them pick a state that they're interested in learning about and find out why. You'll hear a lot more of their voice, and you'll get to know them better because they'll let you know what they're interested in and why they're interested in that state. Okay, final projects and presentations. So when kids are expected to all present a certain way, there's kids that are nervous, there's kids that don't feel confident in that area, and that's going to impact the way they present. It might even impact their grade. So another way you can give choices is when they're doing these projects and presentations. So let them pick whether they're writing a poem or writing a song, or whether they're doing a poster to present to the class. Maybe they're doing a PowerPoint, or maybe they are doing some kind of experiment where they're demonstrating to their class that they understand the learning. But giving them that opportunity to choose really heightens the engagement and is much more motivating to them. Okay, the end of the day, kind of like the beginning of the day. That goodbye ritual is super important, especially for the younger kids. Making sure that they can feel like they're engaging with you and kind of finishing up the day together, whether that's a high five out the door or a goodbye or a hug until they see you tomorrow. Whatever it is, it's really important that that one more interaction with you, they feel like they were given a choice. So you can see how much of our student learning engagement really depends on the choices that our kids are allowed to make throughout the day. And these strategies are all free. Letting them make choices costs you nothing. The only thing we have to do as educators is really trust and allow them to see that we trust them and that we know that they can make good choices. And just giving them that opportunity to make those choices in the classroom. Thanks so much for tuning in to learning more about choices, and have a great learning adventure yourself.
Hi there, my name's Shawn Hornung. I teach high school in Wamego, Kansas, and I've been asked to share a little bit about my passion as a secondary educator and a member of the 2020 Kansas Teacher of the Year team. My passion is, and really it comes from a question, how do we create community and maintain a community of learners that is thriving and it honors all forms of genius? I like to refer to this as the genius of us and the power that is generated from the collective when we all come together and bring our individual thoughts and talents and beliefs and the way we see the world in a unique way and combine them with the talents and gifts of others in our learning community. Genius can be kind of a hot button word, I guess, or not a hot button word, but it assumes over the top intellect and ingenuity that is beyond measure, when in fact it really refers to that innate creativity and natural ability that we're all gifted with and that our students bring to our classrooms. That gift that we see on a daily basis. And sometimes we have to look to find, and it takes a while to uncover the true beauty in our learners. And so I like to think of this word genius as kind of our driving force and the collective genius that we have in the classroom and in our communities. Being a native Kansan, I love the prairie. And this photograph really kind of reminds me a lot of our classrooms. And now, in the times that we are faced with our greater communities and how we consult the genius of the place and all. What is it about our towns and our communities that help nurture our learners? And so when I look at this photograph, it's beautifully knit together. And we see pops of color, and some of us may hear sounds and feel the wind. And that's kind of how I like to think of our learners in our classroom. I may have a student that looks at this photograph and she wants to organize all of the plant life into categories of botanical knowledge that she wants to investigate and possesses. I may have a student and he paints his day in flourishes of color. And so he's excited about the color that exists in this prairie. I may have a student who she wants to go for a hike. And when she sees this photograph, she's drawn to the outdoors and the kinesthetic movement. And that's how she learns best, is by hands-on and doing and movement. I may have a student, much like my nephew, who looks at this field and wants to count everything because he sees the world in numbers, in equations, and that's how he organizes his day to day. And how beautiful and powerful is that when those learners come together and are able to collectively create. But there's something else that I'm reminded of when I look at this field, this prairie, and that's our learners who have to expend an incredible amount of energy just to get to us. And so I'm reminded that we have an opportunity every day to create a safe place for our students to sink their roots in and to have a safe harbor. And, it's hard not to talk about our current context and how important it is for us as educators to make sure that we're still reaching out and we're finding ways to connect with all of our learners to make sure, first and foremost, that they're safe, but they have continuous learning opportunities. As this so well puts in a science book that I took this out of, that soil helps add value to the plant. And if we can create soil, if we can be our students' soil, then they're able to withstand flash fires in their life and have a safe place. The prairie fires. If they go through periods of drought, we're there for them. And that's my passion, is how do we connect all of our students together? How do we knit them together? How do we honor their genius and collectively learn and create a space where we're all stronger together? Thank you. Good luck as we navigate this time period together. We got this. I've never felt more connected to my fellow educators and more proud to be a Kansan. Thank you.
Hello, Ed Camp virtual learners. It is so nice to be here with you today from my office here at home. I joke with my students, this is called my home room, as I've taken a lot of our decorations from our classroom. So my name is Stefanie Lane. I am a 4th grade teacher in Clay Center, Kansas. I previously taught in the Kansas City area in the Blue Valley School District and moved here to Clay Center when I married my husband. So I enjoy being a teacher here and love everything I do. I know we are in a lot of unique times right now with our teaching styles and our learning and even our management at home with our own kids. I hope everyone is hanging in there and staying healthy. So today I get the privilege to talk to you for a couple minutes about one of my passions, which is culture, building a classroom culture. So typically when we think of culture, we think of the noun version, kind of the celebration and ideologies of a certain group of people, what makes them unique, and why that is hugely important to our success as teachers. We also have to look at culture as a verb, which is something that's probably new to a lot of us as educators, unless you were previously in the medical field. So the definition of culture as a verb is to maintain in conditions suitable for growth. Now, typically this looks at tissue cells, bacteria, things like that. But we're going to take that idea and replace tissue cells and bacteria with students or our kids' names. And we're going to take that idea of maintain and we're going to change that to foster. So essentially, we're fostering our learners in conditions that allow for them to grow, that are suitable for their growth. So in order to have a classroom culture that allows for all of this, I think we really have to find a way to marry our noun version of culture and our verb culture to kind of find a way to bring those together. So in my classroom, I like to think about all the beautiful personalities that kind of make up a rainbow and how each kid is special in their own way. We're going to have those really bright, vibrant personalities who are excited and passionate and loud. And we're going to have some of those kind of muted colors that enjoy, being quiet and being taking time to be to themselves and flying under the radar. And so that's kind of our job, is to find that balance of celebrating everyone's specific beautiful color that makes up our classroom rainbow without mixing them all together too much to kind of create this icky, gross color. So when we look at culture, we have to find ways to bring about a strong family relationship. And that's one of the biggest things I do each year. So at the beginning of the year, I spend about 2 weeks just building relationships and allowing my kids to get to know each other. Relationships and connections are key as educators and something I'm sure you'll hear a lot throughout Ed Camp. But specifically when we look at culture, in order to understand each other and grow together, we have to break down all of those barriers and those things that we assume we know about other people and allow our kids to authentically get to know each other. And once we've done that, we kind of start to create this base for our classroom family or our classroom culture. I come in every single year and I'm authentically myself. I'm kind of a loud, vibrant person. I do struggle a lot with mental health, looking at the anxiety piece, and I share that with my kiddos. I'm pretty open with all of them about that. And when we share kind of the things that make us unique as humans, we're allowing other people to get to know our authentic versions of us. And we again create a new layer to that classroom culture. Looking at classroom management, for instance, I think a lot of teachers and educators learn that classroom management begets a really strong classroom culture. And I challenge you to think of it as a strong classroom culture begets an easier classroom management system. So it takes less from us when we spend that time in the beginning building and forging those connections and those relationships. So today I kind of want to leave you with a thought, something I want you to reflect on, how you can marry the noun and the verb version of culture and what you can do specifically within your classroom to change the culture of your learners. Now, obviously, the rest of this year is going to be pretty unique. Our new normal will be likely at home or a distance learning of some sort, but your continual learning can still allow for a strong culture. So if you know there's something you need to do now to make a change, great. If you want to look forward into next year of what you can do for next year to provide a stronger culture for your students, that would be terrific too. If you have any questions or anything you want to run by me, again, my name is Stefanie Lane. My email is Stefanie, Stefanie, Lane, Lane, at usd379.org. I'd be happy to connect with you, reach out, and build another strong relationship across Kansas. Thanks so much.
Hi, Kansas teachers. It's so nice to connect with you virtually. If you don't know who I am Tabatha Rosproy. I'm the 2020 Kansas Teacher of the Year and National Teacher of the Year finalist, which is beyond belief incredible. I'm so excited to be representing Kansas in both of these capacities, and I'm excited to be sharing with you today what my passion word is. And from my cozy nook in my sunroom, if you hear a dog barking or a car passing by, that's just Winfield, USA for you. My passion word is connection. There are really a lot of facets to that word, and it's kind of twofold. Not only do I really care about connections to my students and their connections peer-to-peer, but I also really care about connections within my community. Being a leader myself and encouraging other people to do the same thing. So one really big way that I build connections in my classroom is to have intentional eye contact, appropriate physical touch, and a level of playfulness and silliness with my students. You can do that a lot of ways in preschool. I'm sure it gets a little more complicated as the kids get older, but it can be done. In the preschool classroom, which is what my story is, you know, we all have a story, but that's where mine has been for the last 10 years. We do something every single day with every single student to give them that one-on-one eye contact and physical touch and playfulness. That might look like a song or a finger play or 2 minutes every day of uninterrupted conversation, making some intentional time, like at first checklist forms in my classroom to make sure that we're building those connections. Because I really do believe that willingness comes from connection. And those aren't my words, those are conscious discipline words, which is something that I totally believe in. But those words have meant a lot to me for the last 10 years, even when I learned about them when I was student teaching. I rarely have to call my principal for anything. My classroom management style is really to focus on letting kids have conflict and letting them learn through that and building trust in them, trust that I'm going to be there for them when they need help solving a problem and that they can trust each other, that they see each other with loving eyes and positive intent, meaning, you know, my friend probably didn't mean to hurt me, and if they did, they need some help remembering the rules. But when we see each other with loving eyes, that doesn't mean that we're letting someone get away with it. It just means that we're seeing the best in them. So through that kind of mentality in the classroom, we really build that foundational trust and connection that builds willingness. I rarely have to resort to any imposed consequences, because from day one, we are building those relationships between the kids and with the staff. So connection means everything in the classroom. It means everything. I could talk your ear off about how important social emotional learning is, but I really want to frame it through the lens of connection. Oh, that is my cat meowing. He's very loud. He's part Siamese. He wants me to connect with him. I think really all there is in this world is relationships with one another. I mean, there are a lot of extra things, but what really matters when you talk to kids and when you talk to adults, what are your best memories? They are times that you spent laughing with your friends, laughing with your family, being together in these moments of solidarity and loyalty. Those are what make a life. Those are what make connections. So it's a profound and powerful word. And I'm running short on my time here, but I also want to talk about how important it is to stay connected to your community. I never understood where my kids were coming from until I had involvement in my community. You can do that in a lot of ways. I like to get involved in organizations that support education, but I also like to get involved in organizations that support families. And I do things like that by working with the Anti-Poverty Coalition in my town. I'm their children's programming coordinator. I also work through my teachers union because that connects me to other teachers in my community. And I do work with a grassroots educational organization called Save Our Schools, Cali County. And I also just think it's really important to know where your families are day to day. You know, my husband and I often say that when you're driving down Main Street in Winfield, it's beautiful. It looks like a place of prosperity. But we also talk about Second Winfield, which is the rural poverty, which people don't really see when they're coming into town, but that affects our students. So get out there, get involved, connect with your kids, connect with your community, help them connect with one another. And I think we've seen more than ever through this pandemic, those are the things that are important and are valuable in life. I hope you guys have an awesome time at Ed Camp. I'm so glad that I got to do this. I wish we could be in person, but this is great too.
For more information about this episode, check out my website, MrStockRocks.com. If you know someone doing something awesome in their classroom, let me know about it. I'd love to have them on the show. You can email me at teachlikeaninja@gmail.com or follow me on Twitter at teachlikeaninja. I've been your host, Josh Stock, 6th grade language arts teacher and self-proclaimed awesomeness expert. Until next time, book it forward and be awesome.